Joining us now is the president and the founder of the Ennis Center for Children. Bob Ennis is with us on the MegaCast. Bob, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So your organization works with abused and neglected children, has done so for over 43 years here in the state of Michigan, reaching in that time over 3,500 Michigan children and families in crisis. What was your motivation? You're the founder of this organization. What was your motivation initially 43 years ago to found this organization, and what is the mission of the organization at this time?
Well, I founded it because I was in foster care myself, but it wasn't the formal foster care. I was in foster care by my grandparents, which is not unusual. My parents had issues, and my grandmother and uncles and grandfather came and got me and put me in foster care. And I guess I knew back 8 or 9 years old I was going to eventually work with children and families. And many years later, I'm still doing it. So the mission is to return kids home when we can. And we can't, to create a family for them through adoption or some other method, through a relative or someone, so that they have a forever home.
And so you have many locations across the state of Michigan, helping children all across our state that are in a situation of abuse or neglect, or even just in a situation where their family might be in crisis and the children are in need of additional services at any given time. So with these locations across the state, all of them have pretty similar services provided as the other. What are some of the services that are provided to these children, but also to their families who are in a really difficult situation?
Okay. Well, in addition to, quote, traditional foster care, which is the court removes the child after PS substantiates abuse or neglect, and the court decides to go into foster care, then the court contracts with us. So then you see children and their families, visits, sometimes supervised visits to families who have maybe severe abuse issues that you have to observe and hopefully teach them how to better interact with their children. But in addition to those services, we also provide therapy for families and children ourselves. We have our own psychiatrist, our own trained licensed therapist, et cetera. And we also create other programs that we think are important. We've been for the last 7 years doing a lot of art therapy, but not traditional, just drawing. Everything from tap dancing to music to dance to whatever it may be, to get a child to learn how to express themselves and to socialize with other children. In fact, I just got off a meeting where we were working with a national organization that's using some of these kids' poetry, which is sometimes pretty devastating, with a lot of suicidal ideation for your young children. And so we're always mindful that we have to treat those children and families to get them home. When we can't, then the court terminates rights, then we move towards adoption as an option once the rights are terminated and the state legally becomes their parent. So in addition to that, we do tutoring, mentoring, individual counseling, a lot of activities for our kids and exposures to different things in their own communities and better ways to choose life choices, not just playing pool or hanging out on the streets. What other things might you expose yourself to that you then might experience to teach you recreational and social skills? So that's a few of the things we do. We also run delinquency programs in Wayne County heavily. It's now a community-based treatment program run by one of ours. We have Hamtramck, Highland Park, and part of the East Side.
We're joined by Bob Ennis. He is the founder and the president of the Ennis Center for Children. More information on this organization by visiting their website at enniscenter.org. That is enniscenter.org, with 7 locations throughout the state of Michigan. You can learn more information about all of those locations on their website as well. And so, Bob, you mentioned community-based interventions are a critical part of the mission of your organization, is to involve the community in some of these intervention and mediary tactics that your organization is employing to children and to families that may be in crisis, to help them through that time in their life. Just how important how effective can a community-based intervention be in comparison to some other traditional interventions that may be there in helping the child or helping the family smoothly as much as possible get through whatever crisis they may be undergoing?
Well, the first thing I think after all these years, and hopefully we learned it a long time ago, but we have to learn it over and over again. And that is eventually most children are going to go home. If you don't deal with the community to have them have resources, just like if you get sick, you go to the doctor, right? Unfortunately, many of the kids who get in the system go home, something happens, and they call back the system, they get back in the system. If the community understands that these children are like any other children that need support, need help, maybe they've had more trauma than many children, maybe they have not, they need to be supported in the old term of village. If the village isn't there, we have to create it. Again, kids are going to eventually go home. Even in our adoptions we do, and we do a lot of adoptions in a year, eventually those kids are going to find their birth parents. And they're going to go back to the roots, so to speak. So if you're not dealing with the roots, how do you ever get the plant to grow? In this case, that's a poor analogy maybe, but I think the best definition of parenting I ever heard was to give a child roots and give a child wings. And often we don't realize that we've got to have the community to help us to reroot, if I can put it that way, and support the family and the children when something goes wrong. Getting in the system is easy. Getting out, quite frankly, often is hell. So the community is vastly important for us to be able to function and our kids to be able to function well.
So if someone is interested or a family is interested in being a foster parent or a foster family and being associated with your organization, with the Ennis Center for Children, what is that process like? What are the requirements? And what do these individuals and families then undergo in the vetting process before they would be able to have the opportunity to foster a child or children?
Well, first off, they contact us primarily through our website, depending on where they are, and wherever they contact us, they'd be routed to the facility and the closest to them in Southeast Michigan, because we're primarily in Southeast, from Saginaw all the way over to Monroe. The vetting process is very stringent. It takes about 2.5, 3 months at best to get a person a license to become a foster parent. We want to make sure we make the right match, that we've interviewed the people in the family to make sure that they're suitable, have no criminal record that relates to hurting children, that they're over 21 years old, that they have the means to take care of themselves, and they're not utilizing the little money they get in terms of age-appropriate board and care just for themselves. We want to make sure what the impact is on the other children, the primary children, the birth children in that home, so we don't disturb that terribly, because a child coming in is going to have trauma and they're going to usually raise some heck for a while. So that affects husband, that affects other siblings. We want to make sure that that works well. And we're available 24/7 to those families. They get training and retraining. They get physicals, they get background checks, they get everything. And then we continue to do that training ongoing. But the key is support. To us, raising children is a job. Some people get angry with me because I say that, but I think it is a job. But it's a job you have to do with love and concern. If you don't get support, it's hard to do that.
We're joined by Bob Ennis. He is the founder and the president of the Ennis Center for Children, joining us on the Michigan MegaCast. You can learn more information about the Ennis Center for Children at enniscenter.org. That is enniscenter.org, or by calling 888-200-8915, 888-200-8915. Bob, there are many ways to support the organization, to support its efforts in providing these interventions and these supports to families and children throughout the state of Michigan, on top of being a foster parent or a foster family. What are some of the other ways that people can help your organization, help these children that are in a crisis or are just in need of support from their community at any given time?
A lot of your lists would go back before you were born to the Sears catalog. But many of the things that we need are tutoring, support, mentorships. We always can use money, we can use clothing, but we take mostly, it's very, very gently used, if at all, but new clothes, because many of our kids have not had the right clothes that they need to have. They come to care oftentimes with garbage bags. That's another thing. Dental products, dental utensils like toothbrushes, toothpaste, overnight bags, so that kids not walking around with a garbage bag. Just 1,000 different things, everything you need for your child. Our children only get roughly $400 a year for clothing. and their incidentals and whatever. That's not enough money to make it. So our foster parents often put money out of their own pocket. So birthday stuff at Christmas time, we need gifts and stuff for the families, that they have to have. And we try to make Christmas every day if we can, i.e., I got money for my good grades. We want to be able to do that for our children. We want to be able to get them a bike if they've done well and earn a bike, those types of things. So any way you'd want to help any other child is the kind of help we need at Ennis Center.
We're joined by Bob Ennis, the founder and the president of the Ennis Center for Children, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. More information on the Michigan Megacast on our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast, and more information on the Ennis Center for Children at enniscenter.org. Bob, I understand you have a fundraiser that's coming up soon. Can you tell us about that fundraiser and how people can participate?
I can tell you about the big one that comes up June 17th. Sure. If that's the one you have on your list. That's our annual golf outing. It's our biggest fundraiser. It's held, at the Coyote Preserve over in Fenton, Michigan, and we find all people will travel all over to golf, and that's a good thing. And that money, I think it's about early birds $195. About 50% of that money, or 40%, goes to you. Because we're a 501c3, we're a church tax-wise in terms of that. So that goes up. That helps us to support our children going forward. We're trying a new thing coming up too. I don't know the date on that. You may have it from my development officer. We're trying a virtual wine tasting. I've forgotten the day of that, but that one, I don't know if she gave you that or not. That's coming up soon as well. And that'll be the first time we've tried that. So at least people will be at home if they indulge too much on the wine. But that money would go directly again to help servicing our children and their families. But the tutoring thing, I really want to go back to mentioning again. In some of our communities, and many of them, in fact, a third of the people cannot read beyond the third grade level. So mentoring and tutoring from retired school teachers or other volunteers, because if you can't read and you don't function beyond the third grade, and you have domestic violence and you have drugs, and poverty in your home, you're likely not just to go to foster care, you're likely to go to jail. So we need all the help we can to change the system around to make it better. And that's a project we're working on right now. That's why I was a little late getting to this meeting.
We're joined by Bob Ennis. He is the president and the founder of the Ennis Center for Children, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. Bob, just another couple minutes with you before we'll say goodbye today. Is there any other information at this time that would be important for our audience to know about your organization, or other ways that they can help as well?
Please check out our website. Look at us on Facebook. Look at some of the many opportunities that we have. Again, you can always volunteer. You can look into this system and see as a total system, we're very short of foster parents, and this whole system needs to be overhauled. And we're in the process of doing that. I can't say it on this broadcast. It'd take too long. We've been working 3 years to overhaul it. But it needs to be overhauled because we're not doing the best job we can do, because we often follow the child and don't realize the child comes from that family, comes from that community, comes from medical issues. We have to integrate those issues. So pediatricians and doctors listening in a catchment area, we need you as well, because most of our kids have Medicaid and many doctors don't take it, but our kids need to do that. Our kids only get one pair of glasses. I notice you and I both are wearing glasses, but they only get one pair a year. And so people, ophthalmologists, who can maybe donate some of those things, would be very helpful to us. So I could make those lists long, but those are some of the immediate types of needs we need now. But we're very blessed to be fortunate enough to service these families and treat them with respect.
More information and more ways that you can help by visiting enniscenter.org. Bob, thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for the interview. Have a blessed day.